for?
David.
David.
David Holmes.
David.
Yeah, Holmes down the hall.
Been here long?
Yeah, a long time.
Holmes.
It's like sometimes he pretends like he's your boss.
Holmes. Is that Korean? Never heard of him.
What are you doing?
We're recording stuff because you don't, did anybody tell you you're retiring? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I knew David was getting close to retirement when I saw him in the hallway one day. He said, "What's up?"
It's the roast of David Holmes.
Only a little.
Only a little.
We're going for the gentle stuff.
Yeah, just want him browned around the edges, cool in the center, but not too cool because David doesn't like it very cold.
Since I have been, are we ready?
Yep.
Sorry. Since I have been fortunate enough to sit next to David for several years, David's always been just the perfect gentleman with all of his office protocol. There's only been a handful of exceptions to this, and it always makes me smile when I think about it. Anytime David would have anything less than, like I said, the perfect gentleman remark, he would kind of breathe deep, have that sigh, look over his shoulder to make sure that nobody was around within earshot, and he'd say something like, "Teresa, just between you and me, this can wait till I get back from vacation."
I do not work in HR because I would get us sued.
David and I agree oftentimes to disagree, and it works out well.
If I ask him how he is in the morning, sometimes if he's in a good mood, he'll give me just a whole hummy-dummy.
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 I asked David one time how did he get his mustache so hummy-dummy. He said that it took a lot of...
Hey, how you doing?
Hummy-dummy.
I just came in here to check my hair, perfect as usual.
The biggest thing I'm always grateful for David was him hiring me as Blue Cross proper employee. 2 or 3 years I was contract, and David, I'm not sure what hit him in the head and gave him a concussion to hire me as a Blue Cross employee. But he hired me effective January 3rd, 2003, working with Robin. And so that was January. Then the following April, guess what? Uncle Sam said, "I'm going to Baghdad." At that time, I could not say a word to Robin yet, couldn't, much less David. So I'm going, how do I do this? They're going to fire me for sure. I've only been here 3-4 months, and already I've got to leave for a year and a half. And so finally, when I was able to tell them, I said, "Robin, you and me got to talk." And her face went red, which was a nice contrast to the red hair. So we got a hold of David. We all had a powwow, and David just looked at me real sternly, and he said, "Gordon, don't worry about it. You go and do what you got to do. Your job will be here. You may be mowing my yard when you get back, but you'll be paid very well for it. Don't worry about it. Just do what you got to do and come back." And in the meantime, while I was gone, through the efforts of David, Mr. Cooper, and all the food chain in between here and yonder, policies were rewritten for guardsmen and reservists that work for Blue Cross that would have to be deployed back and forth. David took real good care of me. I appreciate it, David. Thank you very much.
The thing that I will miss the most about David Holmes is his long email responses. Although I will miss David a great deal, this may actually work out to my advantage, and I'll have a little more time on my hands to read other emails.
I bought a book once on how to live with a control freak, and it immensely helped my working relationship with David. I gave him the book to take home to Darlene, but I don't know if he did or not, because he may think that that kind of knowledge is too dangerous in the wrong hands.
So David likes to keep apprised of the situations that are going on. He likes to know what's happening. So generally when I'm going to use the bathroom and he's there, he'll ask me how things are, and I like to let him know that all the little lights are green. We still don't make eye contact.
So David's the second worst about asking questions in the bathroom. Who's the first worst?
That'd be
What's that trophy for?
This is a trophy for back when Blue Cross had tennis tournaments, and David and I and several other employees played in the tournament. And this year I won first place, so that must mean that David got beat by a girl.
So typically I'm just a beer drinker. I enjoy a nice cold brew, and David Holmes got me hooked on Hendrick's Gin. Now I'm an EAP, gotta go to counseling. If I lose my job over this, I'm coming for you, David Holmes.
I told him that he had missed his calling, that he should have been a college professor. He loves explaining things and explaining them and explaining them and explaining them and explaining them and explaining them.
Hey, hummy dummy.
Hummy dummy. Hummy dummy. No.
My story about David Holmes is not necessarily a roast. It's before I even started working here. I turned in my 2-week notice, and the company I was at walked me out the door. And I had a wife that was pregnant, and I was going to have to go on Cobra for a month. So I came and saw David, and it was probably the 26th of February, and told him what had happened. And he made sure I got hired on Monday, which was the 28th, so that the very following day, Tuesday, I would have insurance. So that's my good story about David.
It was my 40th birthday, and everybody, Beth and Todd and everybody, had made sure I had a cake. So we had a cake, and I guess David was in a meeting. He was too busy. He couldn't make it for the cake. But afterwards, he came by my office that was here on 10, and he said, "So how old are you again?" And I said, "Just turned 40. And he said, "40? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man," he said, "when I turned 40, it hit me hard." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." He said, 50, nothing. 55, nothing. But 40 was the hardest ever. So then I started thinking, and I was like, "Well, I just turned 40. I don't feel that much older." He says, "Yeah." He said, "Think about it." He said, "You're now at the top of the hill." He's like, "It's all downhill. You're halfway there." And ever since then, 40 has been my worst birthday ever. Thanks, David. Thanks a lot.
David speaks 4 languages, English, sort of, IT, insurance programs, and Bob.
I had an interview with David Holmes and Don Wyatt. And through the conversation, I continued to hear David address Don as Don White. That was the southern accent that he has. And when I sent in an email or a letter thanking them for the interview, I said, "And thank Don White for participating in the interview." So when I realized the fact that I had made that error, I said, "Oh, Susquanoia."
What's the first thing that comes to mind when David shows up in your door?
Oh.
Your phone rings. It's David. You answer it. What's the first thing he's going to say?
Come down to my office. Or you got a minute.
Yes.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah. You got a minute? Which he means the rest of the afternoon.
Yes. Yes, he does.
I don't know David that well, but that terrifies me.
Congratulations to David for finally kicking his addiction to heavy workloads, and condolences to Bob, who will never find another workhorse like him.
A couple of years after I started working here, I lost my dog. She was a little 4-pound Chihuahua, and she was kind of my surrogate because my kids didn't live at home anymore, and she died suddenly in kind of a horrific incident, and this gruff, terrifying man came to me and said some really kind things, and his wife and him made a donation to the Humane Society in memory of my dog. And I thought that was one of the kindest things I had ever experienced. And I, to this day, can't express my appreciation enough. So, thanks, David.
Well, every time dealing with David with the auditors is always very interesting. Usually he likes to sit down with them and talk and let them know how he really feels about what they're doing and tell them what they can do with the audits once it's over with. The best part is for years we've been making all this crap up. He has no idea. Our audit logs are in crayon. You remember the time you took 3 months off and nobody noticed? That was great. Oh my God. I'd bring your badge up here and just scan it and pretend like you parked on the parking deck. I told him I was going to training one time, and I actually went to Paris. He thought it was Paris, Arkansas.
I always like when
But
you
he's
ask
really-
if what's up?
What's up?
And say nothing. It's all down.
That's right.
Just so he, what? And then I'd say that's a true statement.
All right, David. Now that it's just you and me, I've got a few things I need to tell you. 1. Yes, it was funny when you told a whole room full of people that you didn't want to hear another thing about the floor plan. 2. The phrase, I'm up to my in alligators, makes me a little bit uncomfortable. There's just no comeback for that. 3. I was right when I told you to stop calling the time and attendance servers the TNA servers. You just need to go on and thank me. Oh yeah, and they told me about the real origins of Hummy Dummy. Tisk tisk. Poor Charlie Clem.
I met David. He was walking across the parking lot carrying a computer. And apparently he was working with ABS or something then.
Was he taking it home?
No.
Was he stealing company property?
Oh, well, you know what I say? Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.